The Mayan calendar is known and studied by dozens of researchers. In fact, many believe that it holds a prophetic message. However, its decoding is not yet complete. The Mayas were convinced that time is cyclic. Every 5,125 years, an era would end, simultaneously opening a new one. Such an event, according to several prophecies, will take place once again on the 21st of December 2012. An important date, in which some reckon that there will be strong changes for mankind and for our planet. What is true about it? Moreover, during the last few years, the mystery has become even more intriguing. On the crop fields, incredible Mayan figures started to appear. Who or what could draw these pictograms with elements that join together past, present, and future? Is it possible that an incredible connection is concealed between the Mayan prophecies and the crop circles?
Intrinsic in many of the patterns, especially the stuff which affects the South and Central American regions, the Mayan patterns, as we spoke about before. Highly interesting stuff, and this points directly to times, a point in our history where things are changing. There's a kind of an evolutionary shift.
A leap of evolution. This is what the Mayas prophesied when referring to the date of 2012. And the appearance of Mayan figures and symbols in wheat fields would suggest that the mysterious architects of the crop circles want to draw our attention to current events and towards the end of this era. Actually, the use of the term prophecy regarding Mayan people is not quite correct. The Mayas, in fact, had identified regular cycles of time occurring in the universe. On the basis of this knowledge, they were able to predict centuries in advance astronomical events of great importance, which would affect the whole of mankind. To calculate these cycles, the Mayas had developed a complex system of calendars that they used in order to synchronize their existence with the flow of events and of cosmic energies. The shorter cycle that they calculated was 52 years long and was obtained through the interaction of two different calendars: the sacred calendar, called the Zolkin, and the civil one, called Harb. The Zolkin was formed by 13 months of 20 days each, for a total of 260 days, corresponding to the average length of gestation of a human being. The Harb calendar was made up of 18 months of 20 days each, for a total of 360 days. In order to obtain the solar year 365 days long, there was an addition of a 5-day month called Uabe. According to their studies, our solar system undergoes a circular motion toward and away from the center of the galaxy, the Milky Way, which lasts 25,625 years. The Mayas called this cycle Galactic Day and subdivided it into 5 subcycles of 5,125 years each, which they considered as individual eras and were called suns. At the end of each sun, they presumed that a strong energy flow would be generated from the center of the galaxy, causing a strong and unusual solar activity associated with global catastrophes. In fact, in 1997, the SOHO spacecraft detected an energy flow from the center of the galaxy, and a few years later, the Sun entered a very strong activity cycle. This gave scientific support to what had been anticipated by the Mayas.
The Maya civilization knew the behavior of the Sun and knew of its cycles. They knew that during this time, a macro cycle would have ended. I hope they were wrong, but according to what they're telling us, and to what's happening, we can expect a very serious situation with regard to the Sun in the coming years.
Also, the Mayan forecast regarding the energy coming from the center of the galaxy appeared in a crop circle on July the 13th, 1996 in West Kennet. The figure shows the Mayan symbol Hunab Ku, which represents the galactic center. You can clearly see rays coming out of its perimeter. Next to Hunab Ku, there are the crescent moon and a comet. How is this connection possible between the Mayan prophecies and the crop circles? Yet the messages coming from the pictograms are even more accurate. In fact, the astronomical depictions of the crop circles often indicate dates too, and in this case, the sky shown refers to a specific date. According to current knowledge, this layout of the sky should occur in December 2012. Does this perhaps indicate the peak of its energetic intensity? The Mayas remembered that already 4 suns, namely 4 cycles of 5,125 years each, had elapsed since the beginning of the Great Cycle or Galactic Day. Thus, according to their calculations, we are now at the end of the era of the 5th sun, which began on August the 13th, 3114 BC, and will end on December the 21st, 2012. During this period, the Mayas predicted new upheavals on our planet and a great spiritual renewal in humans. The survivors.
The other thing is that the law of karma is becoming more powerful. Bad people are being bound. Good people are being rewarded. It's happening more and more. What we think is what we get. And this becomes more and more direct as time goes on, because we are in the middle of this shift. And I think when the shift is complete in 2012, it'll be a completely new planet. I think it's going to hurt, but...
On the 2nd of August 2004 was spotted one of the most beautiful Mayan-styled figures ever to appear. It represents the Mayan calendar of the long count, that is the cycle, or sun, in which we are now, but will end on the 21st of December 2012. It also indicates the eternal cycles of time and of the life-death wheel, the duality. This concept is expressed by the 2 wings at the center of the circle of the Chinese yin-yang symbol. The second figure appeared on the 9th of August 2005. It represents the sacred Mayan calendar, the Tzolk'in, a 260-day long calendar equivalent to the gestation period of a human being. The outside of the circle is composed of 20 elements, while in the inner circle there is a group of 13 bars, repeated 4 times. 13 times 20 is 260. This number corresponds to the days of the sacred Tzolk'in calendar, while 13 times 4 is 52, which is the number of years of a complete Tzolk'in Harb cycle.
Los dos números son importantes.
Both numbers are important. Every 52 years, the 365-day solar calendar and the 260-day civil calendar joined up, starting from the same day, called the New Fire Ceremony. Looking toward the center of this figure, we have a half bow that indicates day 0. It is the day when the Pleiades, the Sun and the Earth line up. And this happens exactly every 20th of May. But in this case, the figure also represents a partial sun eclipse. On the 20th of May 2012, there will be a partial sun eclipse. Therefore, they are indicating a very precise date. They give us both the day and the year, May 20th, 2012.
Surprisingly, 60 days after the spring equinox of the 21st of March 2012, that is precisely May the 20th, 2012, at noon, the sun will be aligned with the Pleiades above the zenith of the Pyramid of Chichen Itza. Are these just coincidences? Why do the creators of the circles want to point out this date? The Pyramid of Chichen Itza was built in honor of the god Quetzalcoatl, or Kukulchan, of which the Mayas and all the South American peoples were waiting for the return. Is this a new reference to the return of the Masters of the Stars? But let's continue to analyze the circle. Opposite to the 0 symbol, there are 2 groups of 8 lances or feathers. 8 plus 8 is 16. Exactly 16 days after day 0, there will be a transit of Venus in front of the Sun, the last one during this century. It is a phenomenon that occurs only twice every 100 years or so and was considered very important by the Mayas, since it coincided with 2 cycles of 52 years of their Tzolk'in Hab calendar. In this case, the transit is even more important because it is the last one for the 3 cycles of 25,625, 5,125 and 52 years, which all end in 2012. Let's go back to Earth. A few days later, exactly on the 13th of August 2005, another pictogram with clear Mayan symbols appeared in a nearby field. It consists of a circle in which a square is inscribed, that in turn contains another circle. This is the representation of the Mayan microcosm-macrocosm, the Hermetic concept of, as on the top, so is it at the bottom. But according to some researchers, the square inside the circle would have an even deeper meaning.
We had a repetition of an ancient, a sacred geometry exercise known as squaring the circle. Now, this is very important because the square in time, well, forever, the square is the world, reality, mechanical, solid reality, a linear time, symbolized by a square. And the circle is heaven and God and the divine. So the exercise is to make a square whose perimeter is exactly the same length as the circumference of the circle. And the crop circles have been saying, square the circle, square the circle, square the circle, square the circle.
Thus, squaring the circle means balancing the material and spiritual aspects of life. But let's go back to the pictogram and to the other extraordinary symbolism that it represents. In the middle, we have the Hunab Ku, that besides being a symbol of the Mayan divinity of creation, is also a 6-pointed star. That is the monogram of Christ. This could mean an extraordinary identity. Is it possible that what for us stands for the essence of the divinity of creation was the same for the Mayas? Since 2005, which was marked by the 2 beautiful Mayan pictograms that we have seen, every year a crop circle with symbols clearly referring to this ancient civilization appears. The crop circle on the 15th of August 2006 is the Mayan symbol for Venus. We can therefore deduce that it refers to the end and to the beginning of the new cycle of transits of Venus in front of the Sun, a cycle that is for this century, as indicated in the pictogram on the 9th of August 2005, will end with the transit on June 2012. Therefore, we can say that this figure marks the transition from the old era, or 5th sun, to the new era, or 6th sun, that will begin on Saturday, December the 22nd, 2012. But Venus is also important for another fact. The Mayas were aware that at the end of its cycle of eclipses, the Sun would have manifested and would have spoken. With this, they meant a strong increase of activity of our star. Activity that would have deeply influenced our civilization and our planet.
In their oral tradition, the Mayas handed on indications of how the Sun would have behaved, the fact that all natural systems would have gone out of control. And that is exactly what is happening. Very few astronomers consider the importance of the Sun, but it's the Sun that is causing climate change, more than man himself.
On the 31st of July 2007, NASA found a spot on the Sun that was white instead of black. This indicates that its polarity was reversed compared to a normal spot. Scientists have revealed that this is an anomaly that indicates the beginning of cycle number 24 of solar maxima and of subsequent storms. The highest peaks with an activity of abnormal power are foreseen by the American space body for the years 2010, 2011 and 2012, exactly when Venus will have completed its cycle of eclipses. The same period in which, as announced by the Mayas, the Sun will talk, that is to say, it will manifest its full power.
The
The last solar maximum occurred in 2001. The next one is expected between 2011 and 2012. During a normal solar maximum on the surface of our star, there are between 80 and 100 spots. Around 2011 and 2012, they are expected to be between 150 and 180 spots. I mean that there will be a cycle of cycles. This has a serious number of consequences, and global warming goes hand in hand with climate change. In practice, the seasons all over the world are out of phase, reaching every year record peaks of drought or excessive storms. Every year, there are more intense hurricanes, more powerful monsoons affecting even places where they had never occurred before. For instance, what about the hurricane that struck Brazil in 2005? And about the hurricane season in 2005 with Wilma and Katrina? A season in which the climate has become much harsher. There is evidence, many scientifically well-substantiated facts, right?
But the crop circle on the 15th of August 2006 is also the Mayan glyph called Lamat, name and symbol of the 8th day of the sacred Zolkin calendar. And it is exactly a Lamat, the day in which begins and ends the period of the Mayan prophecy of the Dresden Code regarding the contact of humanity with the masters from the stars. Also in the Dresden Code, on the last page, the Mayas have depicted an image symbolizing how the end of humanity will happen. You see water flowing from the mouth of a snake, from the sun and from the moon. May it be interpreted as a devastating flood? Water, however, symbolizes also truth, spiritual knowledge, and the sign of the new era is the aquarium, whose symbol is in fact a man pouring water. As already mentioned in the Dresden Code, is prophesied the encounter with the Masters of the Stars. Thus, the water coming out of the snake, from the sun and the moon, and the water in the symbol of Aquarius could have the same meaning. Water of knowledge, truth poured on earth by evolved people coming from the sky. Truth that overwhelms the false concepts with which humanity has been living until now, and that are seriously leading us toward the risk of self-destruction. In the light of these considerations, the crop circles could be seen as a genuine attempt to communicate.
I think this is the first communication. It's not a message. It's a very clever curriculum, very clever agenda, because we have become corrupted and degenerate, and they're returning us to spirit.
In 2007, a new crop circle with Mayan symbols appeared on August the 12th. It was the Mayan number 6, made by a bar and a dot. The dot is the unit, the bar is number 5. A very simple circle that left researchers somewhat disappointed. But following extensive research and analysis of its meaning, irrefutable correlations between the number 6 and the Mayan prophecies were brought to light. The simple pictogram became as important as the Mayan circles from previous years. A few weeks earlier, a circle with Aztec features appeared, indicating August the 18th, 2007, through astronomical symbols. On that date, there would have been a conjunction between the Sun and Venus. The circle with the Mayan 6 appeared on August the 12th. Thus, there were exactly 6 days left to get to the same conjunction indicated a few days before by the Aztec formation. In addition, before the next transit of Venus in front of the Sun on the 6th of June 2012, another 6 conjunctions like this one will occur. An astronomical event announced also by the previous circles, whose meaning we have already analysed. Moreover, if we count from the year of its appearance, we find out that the circle of the Mayan 6 shows also the number of years left to 2012.
Such a 6 is often taken as the symbol for heaven, so we have a heavenly design surrounded by the unity of the one, the oneness. In such a simple design, such a powerful, powerful, powerful message.
In short, a figure far from being simple or random, not only for its meaning. If we look more closely at the pictogram, the concept of paradise described by Gary King emerges also in relation to the Mayas. Within the small circle representing the unity, the layout of wheat forms 13 spirals perfectly highlighted. An important Mayan prophecy is called of 9 hells and 13 heavens. With the 9 hells, the Mayas indicated the period beginning in 1519, the year in which the Spanish conquistadors landed on their shores, and ending in December 2012. From that moment, the 13 heavens will begin. So, the message of the circle might also be the following. 6 more years are to go before the beginning of the period of the 13 heavens. The message that comprises, in fact, was explained by Gary King. The 2008 crop circle season started once more with an extraordinary pictogram linked to the 2012 Mayan prophecy. This connection was not clear at the very beginning. In fact, it did not have the characteristic features of the previous figures. This crop circle appeared in Wiltshire on July the 15th, and it represents the solar system. The dimensions of the planets do not actually respect their real proportions, yet the crop circle highlights the distinction between their internal and external orbits. It is also worth noting the precision with which Pluto's eccentric orbit was represented. As we already said, the crop circle's astronomical configurations indicate specific dates. Following appropriate analysis, it was shown that the planets will only assume these positions in December 2012. So, the link is powerfully evident. The crop circles point once again to this prophetic date of the Mayan calendar. At this point, we could wonder whether there is a relation between the prophecies of this ancient people and some prophetic books much closer to our culture, like the Book of Revelation. As a matter of fact, contents are similar, both speaking about the end of an historical period, of the sufferings of humanity, of traumatic change for our planet, and the coming of a new era, a new kingdom of peace. The Mayas were waiting for the return of their god, Kukulkan, and Christians for Christ's second coming. Daring? Possibly. But on August the 15th, 2008, in the English fields of Wiltshire, a pictogram appeared that left everybody speechless. The image represented was very powerful indeed, a Christian cross. What should we think after this new feat? Counting up the number of circles in the horizontal and vertical arms of the cross and the great circle appearing behind the intersection of the two arms, we reach a total of 13. Does this also refer to the Mayan prophecy of the 13 heavens? We must not forget that this concept of a common spiritual identity already occurred in a previous circle. Historically, this had been already acknowledged by the first missionaries who accompanied the conquistadors. In fact, they had the chance to know the Mayan religion. Unfortunately, they considered it a creation of the devil who wanted to confuse them, so they destroyed this precious cultural heritage. Fortunately, today we are possibly more open to such a hypothesis. We should also recall that in Palenque, the ancient Mayan city where the renowned King Pacal's sepulchral stone stands, there is a temple called Temple of the Cross, where this symbol is depicted.
I think that we finally got to a conclusion. That's to say, they finally identified themselves by using a symbol that has an immense value for the whole of humanity. It has no need of many explanations, as it's a symbol that everybody in the world can recognize. Not only the Christians, who obviously understand its importance, but even lay people know about it. They are saying, It is us. We are these beings and, whether you like it or not, we are connected to Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ intended not just the Christian religion, because this way we would discriminate against Islam and Buddhism. Jesus Christ is actually intended as a bearer of a universal message. That's to say, we are connected to the values of love, peace, brotherhood and justice that this man, who died on the cross for all of you, does represent.
We could still carry on describing further data and symbols related to the knowledge and prophecies of the Mayas, which have appeared in the extraordinary English crop circles. Could the Mayas really predict future events? Do these warnings have a real foundation? Now, even scientists confirm that the Earth is a living entity, a complex organism. The message coming from the ancient Mayas and modern crop circles appears to be the same. A change of conscience is absolutely necessary, as never before in human history. A message of warning and hope coming from a past whose importance is hardly being recognized.
Es curioso que ahora está ocurriendo.
It is funny that now it's happening, exactly what has been announced. Changes are predicted, and it seems that they are actually taking place. Thus, looking at our old generations or ancient civilizations as if they were less developed and therefore inferior to us is wrong. They were as intelligent as we are, or even smarter. After the tsunami in 2005, NASA checked on March 21st, 2005, and recorded with absolute precision the spring equinox from Chichen Itza. Why? Because they did not possess a single tool that allowed them to determine the position of the sun with the same accuracy with which it is measured at Chichen Itza. So we see that not only modern science accepts the phenomenon, but it even needs it. This means that not only does it accept the fact that these ancient civilizations had a very precise knowledge, but they are even taking advantage of it. Therefore, considering this, I suggest that we should begin to respect the ancient civilizations.
And this is what the creators of the pictograms did. Whether human or alien, they amplified the message coming from the cultures of the past, such as the Mayas, through a fascinating symbolism beautifully engraved on the wheat fields of England.
It is funny that now it's happening, exactly what has been announced. Changes are predicted, and it seems that they are actually taking place.
This is the best footage and most comprehensive footage available of when the crop circle takes.
I think this is the first communication.
This points directly to times, a point in our history where things are changing.